Hello and welcome to Red Book Joy. Today I'm doing the What Are You tag. If you're new to the channel, I'm Jack, and if you're not new, welcome back to my channel. And can I just say, I'd like to welcome all of the new subscribers to my channel. I'm thrilled, absolutely overjoyed and over the moon to see that I was going to mention this last week. I hit 200 subscribers last week, and actually now I'm on like 245. So it took me, I think, 6 or 7 months to gain 100 subscribers, and then it took me another 3 months or so to get 50, about 80 more subscribers. And in the last week, and there are a number of reasons for it, the last 2 weeks, I've rapidly gained something like 65 subscribers, which I'm speechless about. I know a lot of you came over from watching me in Claudia's video, Spinster's Library's video, in Austen Task Mistress, and if you haven't watched that video, I urge you to go and watch it because it's for charity and it is a lot of fun. And I've got my Spinster's Library mug today, which ties in with the tag, which is why I've got it, but I really loved taking part in that video. It was so much fun. If you're thinking about doing it, because I think Claudia's going to make it an annual event, and if she puts a call out for people to be in it next year, it's well worth doing. It was so much fun. But yes, so I think that's a big part of it. The other part of it is I had shout outs from some of my absolute favourite YouTubers over the last few weeks as well, and I did gain subscribers from those. Julie at the Hungry Bookworm was one of the first people. She's doing this brilliant series called Meet the Booktuber. You should go and watch it because there are a lot of amazing booktubers on there. I discovered one this week, Kit from Kit's World, who I'm really overjoyed to discover. I think he's wonderful. He's made me really happy this week. And Gunpowder Fiction and Plot, Scott, Nell, hi, thank you so much for the shout out the other week. That was really kind of you. I love your channel so much. In fact, you're one of my go-to now that I try and watch religiously because I find it really hard to keep up with watching people's content. I love watching people's content, but I find it really hard to keep up with it. And I just try my best. But you guys, I always make a point when I do have time to go and watch your videos. They're fantastic. And if you don't know them, please go to Gunpowder Fiction and Plot. They're clever and funny, and they read really amazing diverse range of literature, like really literary books, and they're just hilarious as well. And the other person who gave me a bit of a shout out that I know of, if anyone else has, I apologise if I haven't seen it, the other person who gave me a bit of a shout out was lovely Sandy from Miss Reads a Lot, who is also brilliant and does amazing 1001. She's trying to get through that 1001 books to read before you die list, and she's doing a countdown of those. She gave me a little shout out because she bought a book that I recommended, Wonder, and I'm looking forward to what you think of that, Sandy. So all these lovely people, it's just been so heartwarming and nice and made me even more joyful. So thank you all, and thank you to my new subscribers for being here. I was thinking maybe I should do something to celebrate, but I've kind of missed the 200 mark, so if I get to 300 subscribers I should do something to celebrate. And but I might be doing a giveaway over on Instagram because I'm about 6 or 7 followers away from 2,500 Instagram followers, so I might do a giveaway on Instagram next week, in which case I'll mention it in my next week's video. But onto the tag. So this was an original tag by Kevvie from C'est Kevvie. Kevvie's channel is also wonderful, full of joyous things. Kevvie did a brilliant video recently on Frida Kahlo because Kevvie's got an art history background, and I don't know anything about art history. I'm really terrible about it, but I was just absorbed by this video she made all about Frida Kahlo. Go and watch that. I'll link it in the description box. But this original tag is actually Who the F Are You? But I asked Kevvie if I could do a clean version because of my background as a teacher. My teacher identity won't allow me to swear on social media. So I'm going to get into it. Question number 1. What is your name? Does it have any meaning? So my name is Jacqueline. I can't remember what my name means. It does mean something. It's a French name, but it is the female equivalent of Jacques. However, it's also, the fact is I'm named after my dad because my dad's name is John, and Jack comes from John, or at least it's another version of John. And I looked it up as well, and there's like so many theories as to where that comes from, but everyone knows John F. Kennedy was called Jack, right? Everyone knows that Jack is another name for someone called John, so that's why I'm named Jacqueline, after my dad. I have got 3 brothers. I'm the only one named after my dad. But I think they decided to name me after my dad because they thought I might be the last one. I was number 3, and then my younger brother came along, so I ended up being the one named after my dad. But yeah, I really want to talk about my first name. So I introduce myself on here as Jack, and I sign a lot of things as Jacqueline, but a lot of people know me as Jackie, and that is down to, I have no idea why, but someone at some point in my life when I was very young started calling me Jackie. It wasn't my family. My mum and dad always call me Jacqueline or Jack, and my brothers call me Jack. My oldest brother sometimes calls me Jacqueline, or still refers to me as Jacqueline, but my other 2 brothers just call me Jack. But Jackie, I've no idea where it came from. I think it came from a primary school teacher, because I used to have my old primary school books, and I got rid of them. How stupid was I? I wish I had them now. But they had Jackie written on them, and it was spelt Jackie, because if you know, Jacqueline shortened to Jackie shouldn't be Jackie. Jackie is Jackie, is if your name was Jackie on your birth certificate. My name, if it was shortened to Jackie, should have a Q, a U and an I in it. Jacquui. So someone called me Jackie, and then everyone started calling me Jackie at school. Then I started introducing myself as Jackie because everyone was calling me Jackie, and then before you know it, it spiraled out of control. And it took me into my 30s to really understand that I could have picked my own name and told people my own name, but I always struggled with it because Jacqueline felt too formal to introduce myself as, especially when people had been calling me Jackie for a number of years. It felt like I was, getting airs and graces about myself to go from being Jackie to everybody to being Jacqueline. People that knew me professionally. And then I couldn't introduce myself as Jack because it felt like I was misgendering myself, or that I would, if I signed off my name as Jack and no one knew who I was, they might think I was a man. So it was all very confusing. So I carried on introducing myself as Jackie because it was just easier. But I hate that name. I really dislike it. But then I didn't mind it at work because it felt like a work name. So it kind of separated my work persona and children call me that at school because we were a first name school. So it kind of separated my personal life from my work life, and that was fine. And when I left my job last year and I started up the Spread Book Joy, I just decided, no, I'm not going to use Jackie on this. I'm going to be Jacqueline or Jack. So I introduced myself as Jack because actually my closest best friends and family call me Jack. That's what they call me. My partner calls me Jack. That's my long-winded way of explaining my first name because it's just all so confusing, but I love Jacqueline or Jack. Either are acceptable to me. I introduced myself on here as Jack because I think Jacqueline's a bit formal and I want that kind of relaxed vibe. Question number 2, what is your gender? I'm female. I'm a cis female, born female, and identify as female. What are your pronouns? She, her. What is your sexuality? I'm straight. I'm a straight cis woman. So, and this will be an interesting when we come to talk about the type of reading that I do. What is your ethnicity? A lot of people won't guess this, but I am Irish. I might have mentioned it on this channel before, but I'm Irish. I never get identified as Irish, ever in my life. I don't think anyone's gone, oh, you're Irish, unless they've seen my surname, which is very Irish. But I never get mistaken for Irish. I say mistaken, I am Irish. You know what I mean? I never get taken for being Irish. People don't identify me as being Irish, which is really sad because I feel Irish. I feel a mixture of things actually. Growing up, I definitely felt very Irish. My great-great-grandmother on my mum's side was Spanish or part Spanish. I think that's part of the reason why I look quite Mediterranean, and I always get mistaken for being Greek or something not Irish, basically. But in terms of my ethnicity, Irish. I sound English because I was born in London. All of my brothers and I were born in London, and I am a Londoner. That's another identity of mine. If we're talking ethnicity here, I'm not English, I am Irish, but in Ireland with my cousins and everything, we're definitely not Irish, we're English, and it's just, you're not one thing or the other when you're born elsewhere, and I don't sound Irish. But I am a Londoner, and yeah, I'm very much a Londoner. I was born here, raised here, and I love London, though at some point I might not stay in London, but I've always lived in London, and that's a big part of my makeup, if you like. It's not an ethnicity, but London is a big melting pot. It's a big mixture of people. I have got a couple of friends who are English, and my partner is definitely very English, but when growing up, I hardly knew any English people living in London. Isn't that interesting? So yes, long-winded answer there. Irish. What do you do besides Booktube? I'm a teacher. I introduce a lot of my videos that way because my initial focus for this channel was helping teachers and parents to find great books for kids. But I was a deputy head teacher for 10 years. I'm no longer that. I tutor online, which I had to do because of the pandemic. I left my last job. My partner was shielding because he has a condition. He wasn't safe, so I couldn't work in schools, so I was very fortunate to be able to stay at home with him, which is why I started up all of this. And I started tutoring online about 2 months ago, which I love because I've missed teaching. I'm going to be teaching in a class for 2 days a week in the new academic year, which I'm really excited about, in a school that I love. And I'm going to be tutoring online. I'm going to be hopefully doing some teacher training for people because I have a master's in education now, so I am qualified to train teachers. And I did train teachers for a long time because part of your job as a deputy head is to coach and train and mentor new teachers, people coming into the profession and student teachers. So I like to get into that. Before I was a teacher, I was a bookseller, and I also did a degree in classical archaeology. So technically, you could say I'm a qualified archaeologist, although I don't know anything about archaeology anymore. I did my degree 20-something years ago, and I don't really remember much about it, but it was just so much fun. I studied classical Greece and Rome and learned loads of lovely, amazing things that I've forgotten. But it was a good time, and I loved my degree, absolutely loved it. And if you want to be a teacher and you're in the UK, I'd highly recommend doing a degree in something that you love and then doing a postgraduate certificate of education, converting into a teacher. Because doing 3 years of education as a degree, I don't think I would have enjoyed myself half as much as I did learning Latin and Roman history and having lectures at the British Museum constantly, which was amazing. Anyway, and I did loads of other jobs before that. I worked in loads of retail jobs part-time, not just as a bookseller, but I did bookselling for like 5 years. Big, perfect job. I kind of think now, I had such a great job. Good discount on books. If you're a student, get a job as a bookseller, get a great discount. What other identities do you claim? Here's some of them. That's why I brought my Spinster's Library mug. I hope you can read it. So we've got here reader, which is a big part of my identity, a big part of all our identities on Booktube. Cat lady, which usually is an insult, but we're reclaiming it. Claudia's reclaiming it. This is her mug. And feminist. Feminist. Also lefty socialist, union member, and and that's why I kind of like Marxist feminism. And if you don't know what Marxist feminism is about, it's about how capitalism oppresses women and is built off the backs of the free labour provided by women, not by choice, and still going on today. You know, majority of the childcare and domestic duties in any household are still undertaken by women, and women are still not paid as much as men. Check it out yourself. I'm not here to lecture on Marxist feminism. How do your identities influence what you choose to read? I do make an effort to try and learn more and read around issues and communities that are things that don't affect me as a straight cis white woman. One thing that I've learned is that you shouldn't be reliant on people to educate you about their struggle. But there are a lot of great books, a lot of great literature out there for you if you want to access it. But I also like to read fantasy, and fantasy is my favourite genre, and traditionally fantasy is a very male, very white genre. It's, dominated, or it was for years, dominated by white men. However, it's now you've got some, you have got amazing female authors, women of colour writing now. You've got R.F. Kuang, you've got N.K. Jemisin, Octavia E. Butler, who's a classic fantasy author who I've wanted to read for a long time. But yeah, so you can seek out non-male, non-white authors for fantasy, which is great. And I do try and seek out a real diverse range of authors and characters in my children's books that I recommend. Diversity in gender, in ethnicity, in sexuality, because I do think we need to amplify people's voices. So that's what I try and seek to do. But in terms of my fantasy, because another identity I didn't talk about is I identify I'm a massive nerd, massive geek nerd. I don't know how you put it. I'm a huge geek. I've grown up being a huge geek. I've loved fantasy and sci-fi my whole life. I absolutely adore all aspects of it, and I love the escapism of fantasy. And yeah, so my reading habits are influenced by my identity, in that I feel my identity, I like to read outside of my identity, if that makes sense. Long-winded answer here, but yeah. In terms of reading as an identity though, I just want to talk about this for a minute before I start tagging people. I wrote a series of blog posts, which I will link in the description box, about my research into reading and identity, and how important it is to identify as a reader to become a successful reader. So learning to read and being a reader are two entirely different things. My dissertation was all around how identity is key to learning, and then becoming a reader and identifying as a reader is key to the success of learning to read. So there's a really good quote by someone called Etienne Wenger, and he wrote that learning is not just acquiring skills, it is becoming a certain person. A knower, what it means to know, is negotiated with respect to the regime of competence to that community. So basically what he's saying is that becoming a learner, becoming a certain type of person who knows certain things, means adopting the mannerisms and skill sets and the understanding of that community. We can identify people as football fans or as dancers by just the vernacular they use, the way they dress, the jargon they know. There's a whole identity associated with loads of things that we do. And when you're learning affects your identity, because you take on other identities, and your identities affect how you learn. So it's this massive big circle of really interesting stuff, and it's really fascinating when it comes to reading, because how we read, what we read, how we understand what we read is all impacted by our identity. So yeah, it's a big deal and really fascinating subject. I would do a video on it if people were interested, but I suspect that it would not get any views. Though if you are interested, put it in the comments below and I will think about doing a video on it. But I do have extensive blog posts on it, which are hopefully nice and accessible for people. It is in relation to education, but yeah, it's a really fascinating subject. So who do you tag? I'm going to try and tag people that weren't tagged by Kevvie. So I'm going to tag Kit from Kit's World, because my new Booktube obsession is Kit, and I think it would be really fascinating to hear from Kit on this subject. I'd also like to tag the wonderful Ariel from Reading and Whatnot, who has tagged me in something, which I will be doing next. And yeah, I'd love to hear from her on this. And if you're watching this and you would like to do the tag, I'd love to hear from you as well. I'm sure Kevvie would appreciate as many people as possible doing this original tag and spreading it far and wide. So if you like this rambling nonsense, and I'm not sure whether you would or not, but if you did, then please consider subscribing to my channel if you're not subscribed already, and please leave a comment below, and hopefully I'll see you again here soon. Bye.